Grüß Gott, hallo, ich bin Billy Badger und das ist Bausteine 1. G'day, ja, pulingina. My name is Billy Badger and welcome to this introduction to German. Now, we're pretty close to the start of a new year, a new semester of German here at the University of Tasmania. So, with our first week and our first lessons coming up very soon, I just want to run through some of the key things that we're going to need to know, need to do, and need to think about so that we give ourselves the best chance of making good progress in the German language. Let's start off by thinking about how you are going to participate and engage with the lessons. Now, you might be enrolled as an on-campus student, in which case you'll be coming along to 3 classes a week and watching our lecture videos. But you might be enrolled as an off-campus student, in which case you might be able to join the on-campus classes by Zoom, which give you much the same experience as an on-campus student. Of course, you might not have time during the day to do this, so you'll be working more independently. Either way, the key thing will be participating, which is going to mean getting actively involved in this course by developing a consistent routine of learning, practicing and reviewing. It'll mean taking part where you can, working with others where possible, and asking questions where necessary. And this is our textbook. It's called Bausteine 1, which is also the name of our YouTube channel, where you'll be able to watch and rewatch our weekly lecture videos. If you're enrolled, then you get this textbook free of charge. And if you're not enrolled, then there's a link to it in the description below, so you can pick it up pretty cheaply and follow along. We'll be working at the rate of 1 chapter per week. So this whole course will take us around 13 weeks to get through. On our learning platform MyLo, you'll find all of the information you need about this course. There are overviews of suggested study sessions, some interactive exercises, links to the video lectures, and questions to help you engage more actively with these lectures. It's here too where you'll find lots of information about the assessment tasks, so you'll know what to expect before you have to start doing them. Now, regardless of how you're enrolled or wanting to learn, my recommendations are going to be the same. Active practice is going to be the key. Read through the textbook explanations by all means, but it's not learning actively. To make the most of the textbook, the classes, the lecture videos, and all of the content, you'll need to take notes, make summaries, create lists, draw up some mind maps if you're into that kind of thing. Do the practice exercises, check your answers, find out what you're doing right and where you're more likely to go wrong. Now, consistency, I think, is the key. Each week we build on what we have done the week before, so it's going to be important to maintain a regular study routine. I recommend finding someone to work with, someone to practice with, bounce ideas off, and to talk to as you're learning to speak and use the language. Now, before we start thinking about what we're going to be doing in our first week, I want to give you some tips that will hopefully help you, especially if this is the first language that you're going to be learning. First up, German does have some similarities with other languages, but you're not going to know what these similarities are at the beginning. So don't use your understanding of English or your own native language as your starting point. Don't think in English and try to translate into German. Look at what knowledge you have in German and use this only to communicate. Secondly, learn vocab by all means. Do make sure you know the basic words for the basic things around you. But understand that if you only learn things like what's the German word for bus or what's the German word for spoon, then this will only get you so far. Especially if we then try to use our new vocabulary by applying our knowledge and understanding of our own native language, which is often what beginners do. Instead, what we need to do is to look at the way these words are being used. How are they used in a sentence? What other words are used with them, and in what order? This is why our textbook is called Bausteine. We're encouraging you to learn language in chunks, in Bausteinen, either in whole sentences or more often in groups of words. You'll have the most success if you learn your new vocabulary as part of a larger group of words. Now, our third tip is this. Use your textbook and the video lectures and stick to the prescribed content. This is where we're going to need to be patient and to work on building up our knowledge and skills in an organised, methodical way. Trust the system. Don't try to be creative with the language until you know which way the German mind works. At the beginning, you're not going to be able to communicate like you can in your own language. But work through this course methodically, regularly, consistently, and you'll be surprised what you can achieve after only a few weeks. Our fourth tip has to do with grammar. We're learning grammatical structures because we want to know and understand how the German language works. We want to understand how it's structured and how German is used. So look at the examples I give you. Spend time on reading the text, the sample sentences, the sample phrases. Write them down. Think about ways you can use them in your own communication. Now, if our sentence communicates, for example, the idea that I go to the supermarket only once a week but never at the weekend, then separate out the individual elements, the individual Bausteine or chunks, and practice them until you know what sounds right and what doesn't. And finally, a point about the assessment. The content of this course is covered in your textbook Bausteine 1. The assessment tests your ability to apply the knowledge, skills and structures covered by the textbook, and only the content and the scope of the textbook. It does not test and is not interested in anything beyond the scope of this course as presented in the textbook. All right, so now on to what we're doing this week. Well, we're going to learn some basics. We're going to start off with some basic phrases and not really worry too much about grammar at all or any of those language structures. Well, we'll learn some basic phrases that you can say straight away. We'll learn how to ask questions to find out basic information from other people. And of course, we'll learn how to answer these questions. And we'll get lots of practice doing this. We'll meet some other useful phrases that you can refer back to and slowly add into your conversation as we start to build on what we're able to say about ourselves and others. And we'll spend time focusing on the alphabet so that we can start pronouncing our words properly from the start. And that's it really. If you're enrolled in German with us here at the University of Tasmania, then I look forward to meeting you very soon. And if you're not, you can find out how to follow along in the description below with links to Bausteine 1 and much more. Also viel Spaß, auf Wiedersehen, tschüss und bis bald.